I Am a Hero, one of the greatest zombie apocalypse manga ever made, is so much more than just a manga about a zombie apocalypse. It's a gripping, terrifying, and strangely beautiful masterpiece that drags you into one of the most realistic depictions of Japan as a society, collapsing under its own weight. A world where zombies defy every cliche you know, and the people left behind are far scarier because of how human they still are. As you read, you start yearning to know more about the world, about these broken characters, about the reason behind it all. Why did the outbreak begin? Why are some people immune? And why do the zombies keep changing? Are they even dead or just the next step in human evolution? Or maybe something alien entirely? So many questions, and yet by the end it feels like none of them were truly answered. Or were they? Let me guide you through the chaos as we dive deep into this haunting, brilliant work called I Am a Hero. On paper, the story sounds simple. A 35-year-old struggling mangaka named Hideo Suzuki living with schizophrenia and trying to survive a zombie apocalypse. But to me, it's more than just a story of survival. It's a story about a man who runs from reality whenever it gets too harsh. A man who talks to imaginary friends for comfort, who sees delusions when he's scared or alone. The first few volumes move slowly, and that's intentional. We see Hideo's life unfold, his frustrations, his loneliness, his dull routines, and while all that happens, the apocalypse begins to creep in, so subtly you barely notice it. First, it's just the weird news about someone biting another person. Then, a flu outbreak. Then slowly, society starts breaking down. If there's one thing I Am a Hero does exceptionally well, it's the use of silence. Go check out my podcast. Links in description. Now, silence. That's something I've always loved in an apocalyptic story. Silence builds tension, it builds loneliness, and in that loneliness comes the kind of hopelessness that eats at your mind. We humans are addicted to stimulation, sound, light, attention. When all that disappears, the quiet becomes unbearable. And I Am a Hero captures that perfectly. The fear, the emptiness, the isolation. The silence in this manga isn't just the absence of sound, it's the echo of a world that's already dead. It's what makes every small moment hit harder and every scream filled with dread. Speaking of screams, the zombies. My god, the zombies. I've never seen such a unique take on them before. These aren't your typical undead that just stagger around brainlessly. They retain something, a spark of humanity. They don't just wander around aimlessly, they repeat their old habits, follow their old routines, and reenact moments from their lives. It's creepy, it's tragic, and it's downright brilliant. It makes you question what being human really means. Are we human because we think and act differently from animals? Or because of the emotions, memories, and attachments we can't let go of, even after death? That's what makes I Am a Hero special. It's not just about the zombies, it's about you as a character. Speaking of characters, the characters in I Am a Hero are the heart of the story. In most apocalyptic series, people adapt instantly, becoming survival experts overnight. They become cold, ruthless, detached. But in I Am a Hero, it's quite different. See, before the world ended, these people had jobs, dreams, trauma, regrets. That doesn't vanish overnight. Those same emotions fester inside them, shaping every choice they make, even when the world falls apart. And no one embodies that better than Hideo. At the start, he's self-centered, cowardly, and lost in his fantasies. He avoids reality because it scares him, but as the story progresses, as he is forced to confront the apocalypse and himself, he begins to grow. He opens up to others, he learns to face fear head on, and he starts taking responsibility, which is something he never really did before. But what makes him real is that even with all that growth, he still fails sometimes. He still slips back into fear, delusion, and denial. Yet, every time he does, he drags himself back out, somehow. That's why I Am a Hero hits so hard, because it doesn't show us an idealized survivor. It shows us a flawed man trying to get better, and failing, and trying again. That's what makes him human. And then the ending. People either love it or hate it. Some say it's rushed, maybe because the author's father was ill, or because he didn't know how to wrap everything up. But what if it ended exactly the way he wanted to? Let's talk about that for a moment. The outbreak. The Ezekiel virus was said to be caused by aliens trying to take over the earth without destroying it. They wanted humanity to evolve into hive-minded creatures that would rebuild the world for them with the queen figures at the centers, controlled like a colony ruled by instincts rather than individuality. But things didn't go as planned. Some infected people resisted, broken individuals who had already closed their hearts to the world before the infection. Their disconnection from humanity made them unpredictable variables. People like Hideo and others who could coexist with the virus or fight back against it, for instance. That's why the zombies retained their routines, emotions, and habits. Their consciousness wasn't taken, it was repurposed. And when the hive mind finally stopped, I believe it was because of Hiromi. Her will taking control of the collective consciousness, trying to save Hideo one last time or get back at him. That moment explains both the collapse of the collective and how he survived. You would think the story would end with Hideo becoming the hero he always imagined himself to be, the savior of humanity perhaps, but no. Instead, he becomes a hero in silence. No praise, no audience, no one left to see him, and without that validation, you start to wonder, was his idea of heroism ever about saving others? Or was it always about being seen as a hero instead? Left alone, he faces that truth, that all his actions, all his courage, were born from a desperate need to be recognized. And when there's no one left to see him, he stops pretending. He grieves, he endures, and simply lives. It's not the ending we expected, but it's the one the story needed. You know, this isn't the first story that ends in that kind of quiet existential reflection. It reminds me of Ego Proxy, another brilliant piece of fiction about identity, evolution, and the loneliness of being human. If you've seen my Ego Proxy video, you'll know what I mean. And if you haven't, well, check it out after this one because it ties perfectly into what we're trying to talk about here. Both stories challenge the idea of what it means to exist, and both end not with answers, but with transformations. To me, the ending of I'm a Hero mirrors Hideo's own manga, a story that ended abruptly but carried infinite potential. It wasn't about solving every mystery thrown out there, it was about watching a man change. Those final pages of Hideo carrying an unknown child and driving off into the distance felt like a fresh start for him. Well, to me, a symbol of rebirth in a sense. It says you can fall, you can fail, and still something new can begin. And as for being a hero, well, heroes aren't born, they are made, slowly, painfully, through every choice, every mistake, and every quiet act of courage. Well, that was a long one, but I think it deserved it. If you enjoyed this deep dive, leave a like, subscribe, and tell me which anime or manga you want me to explore next. Until then, stay human, whatever that means to you.